Title: I Caught My Wife Cheating in Court. Her shocking downfall will stun you. The courthouse hallway echoed with my hurried steps, my tie crooked, sweat beading on my forehead as I clutched the manila envelope tight. I was late, 20 minutes late, to the divorce hearing, and the thought of facing her, Vesper, twisted my stomach into knots. I'd spent the morning stuck in traffic, my old car stalling on the highway, a fitting metaphor for my life with her. When I finally pushed through the courtroom doors, there she was, sitting beside her lover, their heads bent together, chuckling softly. They didn't see me at first, unaware of the shock I held in my hands, ready to shatter their smug victory. I'm Thane, by the way. Not the kind of man who commands a room, slight, soft-spoken, with a heart that breaks too easily. Vesper called me weak, her favorite insult, delivered with a sneer that made me feel like nothing. I'd loved her since our college days, her sharp what a flame I thought would light our future. But that flame turned to ice, her ambition a wedge between us. Her late nights at the law firm, her locked phone, the way she'd laugh off my questions, they were signs I ignored, clinging to a love that only I felt. Now, here we were, in court, her betrayal laid bare. Their laughter stopped as I approached, my shoes squeaking on the polished floor. Vesper's eyes flicked to me, her lips curling into that familiar, mocking smirk. Late as always, Thane, she said, her voice dripping with disdain. The man beside her, Kale, her co-worker, her lover, grinned, his hand brushing hers in a way that made my chest ache. I wanted to scream, to demand why she'd thrown us away, but my throat tightened, tears I hated threatening to spill. Instead, I sat beside my lawyer, Mara, who squeezed my arm, her eyes steady. "We've got this," she whispered, nodding at the envelope. I'd found the proof 2 weeks ago, after Vesper filed for divorce, claiming I was emotionally unstable. A lie, but one she'd crafted to take everything to our house, our savings, my dignity. I'd been cleaning out the attic, hoping to salvage something of us, when I found a hidden box, letters, photos, receipts. Vesper and Kale, months of hotel stays, secret trips, all while I begged her to care. "You're so needy," she'd say, rolling her eyes when I'd ask about her distance. I believed her, thought I was the problem, until that box showed me the truth. Mara had urged me to use it, to fight back, but I'd hesitated, my heart still tangled in the love I'd once felt. I wrote in my journal that night, a habit Vesper mocked as childish, my pen shaking. I deserve better. The words felt hollow, but Mara's voice echoed, "Asterisk, you're stronger than you think. Thane." Asterisk, she'd been my rock. Her quiet strength pulling me from despair. Now, as the judge entered, I felt a flicker of resolve. Vesper thought she'd won, her laughter a taunt, but the envelope in my hands held evidence that would turn her lies against her. The hearing began, Vesper's lawyer painting me as a failure, a man who couldn't support her ambitions. She sat there, poised, her eyes cold, while Kale whispered in her ear, their intimacy a knife in my gut. I wanted to crumble, to run, but Mara's hand on mine anchored me. "Wait for it," she murmured, her gaze on the judge. My heart raced, the envelope heavy with truth, proof of her affair, her financial deceit, her plan to ruin me. Vesper and Kale chuckled again, oblivious, their arrogance a ticking bomb. I'd arrived late, but I wasn't too late to reclaim my life, to make them face the shock of their own betrayal. As the judge called for evidence, I felt the stirrings of a strength I'd buried, a fire ready to burn through their smug facade, while Vesper sat unaware of the storm I was about to unleash. The courtroom air was thick, the judge's gavel a sharp crack as he called for evidence, pulling me from the haze of Vesper's smirk and Kale's whispered taunts. Their chuckles still echoed in my mind, a cruel reminder of the betrayal I'd uncovered, her affair, their secret trips, all tucked into the envelope I now handed to Mara. My hands shook, but not just from fear. There was anger, a spark I hadn't felt in years, fueled by the truth I was about to unleash. Vesper thought she'd broken me, but I was done being her doormat. Mara stood, her voice steady as she presented the evidence, letters, receipts, photos of Vesper and Kale, proof of their months-long affair while I worked late to support her career. The judge's brow furrowed, the room silent except for the rustle of papers. Vesper's smirk vanished, her face paling as she realized what was happening. Kale shifted, his hand dropping from hers, his grin replaced by a scowl. I wanted to shout, to demand why she'd lied, but I held back, letting the evidence speak. Mara's words were a blade. "My client has endured not only infidelity but financial manipulation. We request full asset disclosure." Vesper's lawyer stammered, caught off guard, but she recovered fast, her eyes flashing as she leaned toward Kale, whispering fiercely, I caught a flicker of something in her gaze, not just anger, but fear, a crack in her icy facade. For a moment, I saw the Vesper I'd loved, the one who'd once cried in my arms after a failed gallery show, scared of failing. But that Vesper was gone, buried under years of her scorn, weak, needy, pathetic words she'd used to keep me small. Now, that fear was her own, and I wouldn't let it pull me back. The judge called a recess, giving us 30 minutes, and I stepped into the hallway, my chest tight. Mara followed, her hand on my shoulder. "You did it, Thane," she said, her smile warm. "She didn't expect you to fight." I nodded, but the ache lingered, years of her betrayal, her laughter at my pain, still raw. I pulled out my journal, writing, "Her lies don't own me." The words steadied me, a reminder of the strength Mara saw, the strength I was starting to feel. I'd confronted her, not with shouts, but with truth, and it felt like a first step. Vesper stormed out, Kale trailing her, their whispers now arguments. She saw me, her eyes narrowing, and marched over, her heels clicking like gunfire. "You think this changes anything, Thane?" she hissed, her voice low but venomous. "You're still nothing without me." The words stung, but I didn't crumble. "I was never nothing," I said, my voice trembling but firm, surprising us both. Her eyes widened, a flicker of doubt crossing her face, but she turned away, Kale pulling her back, their united front cracking under the weight of their own deceit. I texted Amos, my friend who'd always seen through Vesper's charm. I showed the evidence. "She's rattled." His reply was instant. "Proud of you, Thane. Don't let her drag you down." His words were a lifeline, reminding me I wasn't alone. Mara suggested we grab coffee, her calm grounding me as we sat in the courthouse cafeteria. "She's scared," Mara said, sipping her latte. "She thought you'd roll over, but you didn't." I nodded, the spark of anger growing into resolve. Vesper's fear was real, her control slipping, and I was no longer the man she'd mocked. The recess ended, and we returned to the courtroom, Vesper's composure fraying, her whispers to Kale now sharp. The judge reviewed the evidence, his expression grim, and I felt a strange mix of pain and power. I'd arrived late, but I'd brought a storm, one that would expose her lies and reclaim my life. Vesper thought she'd won, her chuckles a taunt, but the shock I delivered was just the beginning. As the judge prepared to rule, I knew this wasn't just about assets, it was about me, Thane, standing up, fighting back, and proving I was more than her shadow, while she faced the unraveling of her own making. The courtroom's fluorescent lights buzzed as the judge cleared his throat, his eyes scanning the evidence I'd brought, letters, receipts, photos that laid bare Vesper's affair with Kale. Her earlier chuckles with him were a distant memory now, replaced by a tense silence as she sat rigid, her hands clenched in her lap. I'd arrived late, but the shock I'd delivered had shifted the tide, and the spark of defiance I'd felt was growing into a steady flame. I wasn't the Thane she'd mocked anymore, the one who'd begged for her love while she tore me apart. The judge ruled for a full asset disclosure, citing Vesper's questionable conduct, and ordered a forensic audit of our finances. Mara's smile was small but triumphant as she whispered, "We've got her, Thane." Vesper's face twisted, a storm of anger and fear, and for a moment, I saw the woman who'd once admitted, during a rare late-night talk, that she was terrified of being seen as a failure. That vulnerability had drawn me to her, but now it was her weapon, turned inward as her lies unraveled. "This isn't over," she snapped, her voice low, meant for me, as the session adjourned. Outside, I leaned against the courthouse wall, the autumn air cool against my skin. My journal was in my bag, and I pulled it out, writing, "Her fear is not my burden." The words anchored me, a reminder of the strength I was claiming. Vesper and Kale emerged, their argument spilling into the hallway, her voice sharp as she hissed, "You said no one would find out." Kale's reply was curt, his hand pulling away from hers, their united front fracturing. I turned to leave, but Vesper's voice stopped me. "Thane, wait," she said, softer now, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, a new tactic, one I almost fell for. I faced her, my heart racing, but I didn't crumble. "What do you want, Vesper?" I asked, my voice steady despite the ache. She hesitated, her mask slipping, and for a moment, I saw regret, real and raw. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," she said, her voice breaking. I was scared of failing, of being stuck." Her words hit hard, a glimpse of the Vesper I'd loved, but I saw the manipulation beneath, her tears a ploy to pull me back. "You made your choice," I said, turning away, the pain sharp but my resolve sharper. She called after me, but I kept walking, Kale's glare burning into my back. Mara caught up, her presence a steadying force. You handled that well, Thane, she said, guiding me to her car. Let's get lunch. Amos is meeting us. At a diner nearby, Amos's grin was wide as I recounted the hearing. You're a fighter now, Thane, he said, clapping my shoulder. Over burgers, Mara shared a twist. Her investigator had uncovered more. Vesper had been siphoning money into a hidden account, using Kale's name, a move that could lead to fraud charges. My breath caught, the betrayal deeper than I'd thought, but it fueled my determination. She'll face the consequences, Mara said, her eyes fierce, and I nodded, feeling the weight of my own power. I wrote again at the table, I am not her failure. Amos noticed, his voice soft. You should share that journal one day, Thane. It's your story. His words planted a seed, a vision of turning my pain into something more. Vesper's regret was growing, her tears, her crumbling alliance with Kale, but it wasn't my fight anymore. The external conflict, her public unraveling in court, had given me a stage to stand tall, and Mara and Amos's active support were my foundation. I wasn't just surviving. I was fighting, step by steady step, reclaiming my life while Vesper faced the storm of her own making. As we left the diner, the city's pulse a steady rhythm. I knew the next battle was coming, but I was ready, armed with truth and a strength she couldn't break, while her laughter turned to whispers of her own defeat. The diner's warmth faded as I stepped into the crisp afternoon. Amos's words, you should share that journal one day, Thane echoing in my mind like a quiet promise. Vesper's unraveling in court, her tears outside, and the revelation of her hidden account with Kale had shifted the ground beneath me. The evidence I'd brought had turned her laughter into whispers of defeat, but the ache of her betrayal still lingered, a scar I was learning to carry. I wasn't the man she'd called weak anymore. I was fighting, and the strength I felt was mine, forged in the fire of her lies. Back at Amos's apartment, where I'd been crashing since the hearing, I sat on his worn couch, my journal open. Mara's update had come earlier. The forensic audit had uncovered more. Vesper had not only siphoned funds but used them to buy a condo with Kale, a secret investment meant to secure their future while leaving me with nothing. The twist hit hard, her betrayal deeper than I'd imagined, but it fueled my resolve. She's in deep now, Mara had said over the phone, her voice steady. The judge will rule in your favor, Thane. Keep pushing. Her active guidance was a lifeline, pulling me forward. I wrote, her secrets are her cage. The words felt like a declaration, a step beyond the pain. Amos, sketching at his easel, glanced over. You're different, Thane, he said, his tone serious. She thought she'd break you, but look at you now. His pride sparked warmth, a contrast to Vesper's coldness. I thought of her in court, her fleeting vulnerability, I was scared of failing, but I saw it now as a mask, a last attempt to manipulate me. Her tears weren't remorse, they were fear, and I wouldn't let them sway me. My phone buzzed, a text from Vesper, meet me at the park, 3 p.m. Please. My heart raced, the old urge to run to her flaring, but I paused, breathing deep. This wasn't about begging for her love anymore. It was about facing her on my terms. I texted Mara, Vesper wants to meet. Should I go? Her reply was swift, yes, but recorded, Thane. She's desperate. Be careful. I agreed, pocketing my phone, the external conflict looming like a storm. I wouldn't let her twist this into my fault, not again. At the park, the wind rustled the leaves, the bench cold as I waited. Vesper arrived, her coat tight around her, her eyes red but her jaws set. Thane, she said, sitting beside me, her voice softer than I'd ever heard. I made a mistake. I got caught up with Kale, but I never meant to hurt you. Her words trembled, a glimpse of the Vesper who'd once shared her fears with me, but I saw the lie beneath, her hand fidgeting, her gaze darting. You meant to take everything, I said, my voice firm, pressing record on my phone. Her eyes widened, a flash of panic, and she stood, her tone shifting. You'll regret this, she hissed, but her threat was hollow, her control gone. I walked away, her voice fading behind me, the recording a shield Mara could use. Back at Amos's, I wrote. I faced her, and I didn't break. Mara called, her voice bright. The judge awarded you the house, Thane. Vesper's facing fraud charges. You've won. Relief flooded me, the victory real, but it wasn't just about assets, it was about me, standing tall. Amos grinned, pulling me into a hug. You're free, man. I felt it, the weight of Vesper's betrayal lifting, her regret her own to bear as her world crumbled. I wasn't done yet. The house, the journal, the strength I'd found, they were pieces of a new life, one I'd build on my terms. Vesper's laughter in court, her alliance with Kale, had been her downfall, and I'd faced her, fought her, with Mara and Amos by my side. As the city's lights twinkled outside, I knew the final step was coming, a way to turn my pain into something lasting. While Vesper faced the consequences alone, her tears no longer my burden. The city's lights glowed softly through Amos's window, a quiet contrast to the storm of the past weeks. Vesper's park confrontation, her tearful plea, her hollow threat played in my mind, but the recording I'd made had sealed her fate, a final piece of evidence Mara used to ensure justice. The judge's ruling had given me the house, and Vesper now faced fraud charges, her world with Kale in tatters. I'd arrived late to court, but I'd brought a shock that shattered her control, and the victory was mine. Thane, the man she'd called weak, now standing stronger than ever. I moved back into the house, its walls once a cage of her betrayal, now a blank canvas for my future. I painted the living room a soft blue, hung photos of my family, and turned the attic, where I'd found her secrets, into a small office. My journal, once a refuge she'd mocked, became my strength. Amos's words, share that journal one day had taken root, and I'd started writing a memoir, pouring my pain and growth into words. Mara, ever my rock, connected me with a local publisher, her support unwavering. "You're a writer, Thane," she said at a coffee shop meetup, her smile bright. "Show the world." A final twist came a week later. Mara uncovered that Vesper had tried to sell the condo she'd bought with Kale, but the sale fell through when he turned on her, testifying against her to lessen his own charges. Her desperation was clear in a letter she sent me, her handwriting shaky. "I'm sorry, Thane. I lost myself." I read it, seeing the Vesper who'd feared failure, but her regret was too late, her manipulation a shadow I'd outgrown. I didn't reply, choosing silence as my final stand, a quiet external conflict that marked my freedom. Amos helped me host a housewarming, the backyard filled with new friends from a writing group Mara had introduced me to. Among them was Lila, a poet with a warm laugh and eyes that saw me, not the broken man Vesper left behind. We'd grown close, our late-night talks about art and healing turning to walks, then dinners. That night, as music played, Lila read a poem I'd written about the attic, my sanctuary, her voice giving my words wings. The applause was soft but real, and I felt a rush, pride, not pain, a new chapter born from the ashes of Vesper's betrayal. I gifted the group a small sketch I'd drawn, a phoenix rising from the attic's window, symbolizing my rebirth. "For all of us," I said, my voice steady, Lila's hand in mine a quiet anchor. Amos grinned, raising a glass. "To Thane, who burned the past and built the future." Everyone cheered, and I smiled, the weight of Vesper's laughter in court, her alliance with Kale, now a distant memory. She was alone, her regret her own, while I was surrounded by a community that lifted me up. Months later, my memoir was published, titled Late to Court, a quiet hit in local circles. I dedicated it to Mara and Amos, my anchors, and to Lila, my new light. Vesper faded to a footnote, her charges leading to probation, her career in ruins. I didn't gloat. Her suffering was her own, a consequence of her lies. I ran by the river each morning, the water's rhythm matching my own, Lila often joining me, her laughter a melody I'd never tire of. Happiness wasn't loud, it was Lila's touch, Amos's sketches on my wall, Mara's proud texts, my words in print. I'd arrived late, but I'd arrived, and the shock I'd brought had set me free. As I stood in the attic, Lila at my side, the phoenix sketch above my desk, I knew I'd won, not by Vesper's rules, but by building a life of joy, one page, one step, one love at a time. Drop your thoughts in the comments, I read them all. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to help this video reach more viewers. See you in the next one.